7 million tonnes of soil are flushed into the sea annually by Hawke's Bay rivers, but one storm alone may be responsible for that amount. Cyclone Gabrielle is a storm that keeps on giving more than a year later, with damaged land bleeding more silt whenever it rains, threatening marine life.
So a lot more sediment than the system usually copes with can wreak havoc on marine organisms. So it can make the water cloudy so algae can't grow, and it can smother animals that live on the bottom or clog gills or make it hard for swimming animals to find food like fish. So it can wreak a lot of havoc. And when it's a normal amount of sediment, and Hawke's Bay coastal area is used to some sediment, the system can usually kind of work it through and be okay. But when it's big pulses like that with not a lot of recovery time in between, it's difficult for the system to work it through.
A survey by government agency NIWA found a sad sea life situation thanks to silt, but an October survey found recovery and a subsequent very good fishing season was reported.
Cyclone Gabrielle did affect Hawke's Bay, big time on land and big time off land in the marine environment. From a recreational perspective, it was more the logs and debris and stuff floating around out there. And obviously the bottom had a huge amount of silt come through, but to be honest, that didn't affect the recreational side of fishing all that much. Apart from the guys who put their contickies out, they got snagged up on the logs that are sunk and stuff, but from my perspective, the biggest issue was debris floating.
So what's fishing like in Hawke's Bay?
It's on the improve, definitely. We have ramp surveys we do through the club called the Colomari Ramp Survey, where we survey our club members every time they go fishing in the contest and record what they've caught. And we've been doing it now for 14 years and it's slowly improving, which is good. It's been good, yep.
We're overrun with snapper, terrakee, there's some nice lot of John Dory there, but the fishery is definitely rebuilding.
While fish are being caught, the bay is not the same. A large number of logs are lying on the seafloor, and the fishery is behaving differently. Thousands of porcupine fish have been found in trawling nets, and the usual catches are in different places.
We're already finding fish that generally feed, etc., around the river mouths, soles, turbot and flounder in deep water. I caught 7 soles in 175 metres of water. Never ever seen them out there before. So presumably they've been driven out by some of the effects of Cyclone Gabrielle.
While the bay's fishery is bouncing back, some are worried about the long-term effect of Cyclone Gabrielle. It washed a lot more than silt and logs into the bay.
I can't predict what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years' time because the ecosystem would have been attacked. Chemicals, all sorts of stuff that come down the rivers, the ecosystem that we can't even see, but it's the start of the food chain and it will have an effect.
Hawke's Bay Regional Council says it has good baseline data for future marine welfare checks, but determining exactly how much silt has been deposited into the bay is a challenge.
The waves will resuspend it, so that makes the sediment accumulation quite tricky to follow and understand because it's constantly being resuspended. So it's a bit of a challenge to just have a finite number of what happened on the day.
The Council's land use programs of Right Tree, Right Place and Land for Life help with an optimistic outlook for the future marine environment.
It definitely needs some help to try and lower the amount of sediment going out so it can become a better thriving community, but I do think that nature is dynamic and it's used to dealing with some level of disturbance. So I think that it's promising as long as we can give it as much of a helping hand as possible.
Patrick O'Sullivan for Bay Buzz.